Welcome to Water Talk with Paul the Waterman, brought to you by Water Pros. Paul the Waterman is Colorado's expert on all things related to the water we use and drink in our homes. Have you ever thought about where your water actually comes from? Is it safe to drink? Is it harmful to my health, my skin, my hair? Paul the Waterman knows water, and he has the answers. Haystack Help Radio proudly presents Water Talk. Now here's your host, Scott Watley, and owner of Water Pros, Paul the Waterman.
Old Ann and I, with throats burnt dry and souls that cry for water, water, cool, water, clear, water, water, water.
Welcome to Hee Haw, starring Buck Owens and Roy Clark.
And our host, Scott the Man Watley, live in studio today.
Well, Paul, you never cease to amaze me. Little inside.
And the whole Hee Haw gang.
You walk in and you tell me when to talk. Hey, that's been a first in 13 years.
Hey, you know, it's creative. It's my creativeness coming out. Listen, here's the thing. The reason why we did the Hee Haw, I love Hee Haw. You know, you can watch Hee Haw on YouTube. For all those folks out there, you go to YouTube, type in Hee Haw, watch full episodes. It's good, you know, wholesome family entertainment. And, you know, I one of the things I wanted to kind of get back to and for us all to think about is, you know, back in the good old days when we didn't have all this nonsense to worry about.
I know.
Right? I mean, Hee Haw was on Saturdays, and normally it was in my neck of the woods in Prairieville, Illinois, when I was a kid growing up, small farm town. We had Billy Graham on Saturday, you know, and then after Billy Graham, Hee Haw. Yep.
That was quite the follow-up to Billy Graham.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it was like so. You know. But so you know, what we want to do today is talk about, go back and revisit the national and primary drinking water regulations, because I want to, you know, let folks understand what they're doing to our water just to make it drinkable coming out of the sewage plant. So people understand. So everybody that lives in town, and this also can affect folks that live out in the well, because, you know, well water, believe it or not, can be fed, you know, the aquifers, you know, and by rivers, you know, and the Platte River, for example, absolutely can. If you go out east, all the water ditches and waterways that they use, you know, for irrigation can also get into the aquifer. And so these are things we really have to think about. But I want to kind of recap so folks can see the harmful chemicals that are going in, and then additional chemicals concerns that we have along with pharmaceuticals, so they really get a grasp that what comes out of the kitchen tap, if you live in town, let's say, is not 100% H2O.
Well, I tell you, and just to mention it real quick right now, man, I can't believe you made me wait so long to get my RO system. But I'm telling you, Paul, it is. I mean, we love drinking water now, man. And it just, the taste is unbelievable. And I'll just be honest, hey, I'll say it. We bought Dasani water for years and years and years and years and years and years and years.
There's no taste comparison difference
and now,
between your water and Dasani water.
Yeah. Tasted, it's like, it's unbelievable, the difference.
We, my wife and I, have our reverse osmosis unit hooked up directly to we upgrade our ice machine. So we have one of those little portable, you know, ice machines that sit on its own little table.
Yep, we got that after you told me. It
and
works great.
And there's nothing better than, you know, clear ice cubes, and you're drinking, and the flavor and the crispness, and you know, because it is, and the ice cubes last. So it's just, and one of the things that, you know, you rely upon is knowing that, you know, whatever you use with water to, you know, what you're going to make your drink with, you know, that it's going to be, you know, the flavorful. And that's just, you know, and there's no hardness or calcium and mineral deposits to mask the flavoring. You're not going to have any floaties in the ice cubes.
Right. It is Water Pros, so let me mention that. We always we hardly ever give Paul's real name, Paul Dowding. He is the owner of Water Pros. Their number is 303-862-5554. It is a free in-home water test that Paul offers, as well as, hey, a couple of ways we'll approach this. If you've got a current system, Paul will come check it out for you, see if it's operating properly, performing what you need it to perform there on your water, whether it be through an RO system or a water softener. And if you're thinking about a system, hey, at least let Paul come out. It is absolutely no charge to you, and Paul will come out, do the free water test, and see what he suggests for you and your family.
Absolutely, and look forward to and love talking with people. Love explaining, and sharing my knowledge, and then answering any questions. This morning, just before I left here for the studio, I was fortunate enough to talk to a potential customer, and made my recommendations. For folks that live in town, we have a system that is a multimedia. It's it looks like a conventional single tank water softener, but inside it's a multimedia system, now with a high chloramine content. Mm-hmm. And, when I went out and started testing the water on the hot water side and seeing the high levels of total chlorine that would come from the hot water heater, I mean, you never used to think that, because years ago, when it was straight chlorination was the only disinfection method, it would, dissipate, off the hot water heater, out of the vent.
Right.
And now that's not the case. It stays. So the chloramine is chlorine mixed with ammonia, and it stays right there. So now when we take a shower, we're bathing in it. We're going to breathe it in the steam. And so chlorine and ammonia content is just not healthy for us. I was, at a house yesterday and did the same thing, did the test, and showed them that, the chlorine content out of the hot water heater was, over 1 part per million, and out of the cold water was 1 part per million. And so it stays, and so it's a double whammy. And then we did the washcloth test to show them that, and rinse that washcloth, twice, and still the same amount of soap and film and that was trapped in that washcloth. And it's more of an education to get people to understand, water treatment is not plug and play. Mm-hmm. Water treatment, is something that you have to understand what's going on, and then you have to have the right filter application, right, to do the job. And the other thing they had in a city water situation is they had electrolysis, Scott. And it wasn't coming from the water. So what can happen in your home, especially older homes? So think about this. In an older home, you're wired for a telephone, landline. And if those landlines, I don't know of anybody that has a landline anymore. Okay?
Yeah, I don't either.
And then you had, cable. They're wired for cable.
Sure.
And so, back in the day, what they would do is they would ground, and ground was a copper pipe. And so coming into your home, you have a main ground wire that's usually right at the water main that's used to ground the house. Mm-hmm. But then what they would also do is other areas of the house where you had a phone line where the lines came in, they would use and attach a wire and use that copper pipe as ground. And so what can happen then, if you get an electric current that's coming from one of those connections, from either an old cable connection, an old phone line, landline connection, and it sends electric current, it'll actually create electrolysis where the copper pipe will eat from the inside out, and then you get pinhole leaks. So I showed them the green staining. So if you take the lid off, the lid off the toilet tank, the water reservoir, right? If you see a blue-green line on the water line, and that's a sure sign of acidity. And so, you can't, and when the water's coming in, the water pH level coming into the home was, 7.5, that's neutral. So it's not the water that's, creating the issue. It's an electrolysis, it's a ground. It's something that's connected to their pipe that's giving a current. And then over a long, long period of time, it creates these pinhole leaks, and it's an issue. Now, soft water will take the hardness out of the water, and the byproduct of a water softener is sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda. So I believe that will help kind of slow down that, acidic reaction because of the principles of carbon and carbonate, baking soda. I mean, it's an acid neutralizer, right? When you, take as a kid growing up, and if you didn't have Pepto-Bismol or another antacid, what did you do? You took baking soda and put a teaspoon or in a glass of water and stirred it up, and that's what you drank as an antacid. So I believe that would help, but it's definitely not going to stop. So the recommendation is you have to get a voltmeter and you have to just try to troubleshoot to see where that source that electricity is coming from.
Didn't you used to put baking soda like on battery acid on car terminals too?
Yeah. So one of the things that people in older homes you really need to think about is, if you had an old which is CenturyLink now, right? But US West was there in back of the day.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that name.
Yeah, US West was, and if you had an old phone lines, I have one downstairs in my basement. We have a little area that I kind of hang out. It's a little bar, nice wet bar downstairs, and I leave it there because now I collect old radios, and so it's kind of like it kind of fits in nostalgia, right? But you often think if that's not if they're still sending power to that. And, if they got a cord, if that's grounded, and did they just wrap, ground wire to around a copper pipe that was close by? And if there's current coming in, that can be an electrolysis issue. And you can look at your copper pipes in your home, and if your copper pipes are discolored, they shouldn't be discolored. But if they are discolored and they fade and one area is dark, if you get green pimples, on a straight line piece of pipe, that can be a sign of electrolysis. And then again, the blue-green ring on the water line and the toilet, the holding tank of the toilet, that's absolutely, a sign as well.
What are different colors that you may see in the back of a toilet tank? Because you get you get the blue-green, then you see like a brown rust.
Brown rust, you see hardness, the discoloration, hardness build up. You can see from where the porcelain at the top before the water line is discolored of the water at the water line, and that's hard water buildup. You can see sediment, out in the well, people live in the country, rural areas, you can see, absolutely iron content, the black manganese, and you could also see, bacteria in the water if it's floating, and bacteria, if you have floaty bubbles, that's, sign of iron bacteria as well.
Oh, goodness. Now, you said it at the beginning, chemicals that they're putting in our water to, quote, make it safe for us to drink. You really wonder, through our state, at what all and how many chemicals that actually is, and will we ever really know that true number and really what all those contents are?
Well, one of them that is used, and it's a zero. The maximum contaminant level is 0, is called bromate, bromate, increased risk of cancer, and it's a byproduct of drinking water disinfection. That's one. The other one they have is chlorite, and that has a, milligrams per liter is the measurement they're using. It's at 0.8, and that's a byproduct, again, of drinking water disinfection, but it can create anemia in infants and young children and affect the nervous system. So, I wanted to recap this, because we covered this once before, but I really want people to know that this is stuff that they're using. See, here's the thing. Back in the day, and, months ago, a customer from Texas that moved up here, she said, yeah, well, I knew they're chemical contamination, but it's so small, it's not going to matter. And I was like, that's a great thought, and that's exactly what I bet everybody else thought, that's so small it won't affect us. But now we're realizing that we're taking contamination at a part per trillion, a part per billion, and then even smaller measurements at that are contaminants in our water supply. Look at, the forever chemicals, PFAS, are measured in a part per trillion, and even at a part per trillion, that's can affect our health to the point now where, they said everybody has PFAS contamination in the human body. So, it's the bigger picture is that what they're doing to disinfect the water so think about this, not to be crude, but everything you flush down the toilet ends up in the water supply. So they take the human waste out, And so this is a recap, they take the human waste out, and then the human waste is sold to companies to make fertilizers, and the fertilizers are sold to farmers. And then there's a farm in Texas and one in Michigan that, PFAS contamination to the point where, it pretty much they had to shut down operation from what the article said, because everything was contaminated by PFAS, and that came from where? Fertilizer that was made by human waste.
Yep.
So just want to remind everybody, the quality of water, when you turn on, and water comes out of the tap, what's really in there?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's important to, the minimum that we need to do for ourselves is everybody needs to have a, point of use reverse osmosis drinking water system. You know what I'm thinking about doing, and maybe we need to start, maybe a non-for-profit or a foundation or a GoFundMe where people would be willing to donate money that then in return, we can offer reverse osmosis drinking water systems for those, for families that can't afford it.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody...
Bud, right now, the way everything is.
Everybody deserves clean water, but, it's just... Have we gone to the grocery store, lately and realized that, a 12-pack of Pepsi is over $10?
Really?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Now, I think the last time I looked it was between $10 to $11, but on the good side, I was at a gas station the other day, and a 12-pack of Busch Light was on sale for $7.99.
303-862-5554 is the number. It is Water Pros. Hey, let them know you heard them here on Water Talk. As I mentioned, Paul will come out, do that free in-home water test. Hey, check out your current system. And if you're looking at a system, you're looking at another company, you know what, that's fine. But just give Paul a chance to come out, show you what he has to offer with Water Pros. All his products are made right here in the good old USA. And don't go anywhere. We got more facts coming out from the Crack News team at Water Pros right after this.
Thinking about refinancing to save money, just waiting for the rates to come down? Do you need some relief? Take AIM, Affordable Interest Mortgage, 720-895-0500. Want to save $700 to $1,000 a month? Get a 30-year fix at 5.625. Pay off $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in high-interest card credit debt, and give yourself some breathing room. We offer many different loan programs that will save you hundreds per month. Take AIM, 720-895-0500. Thinking about purchasing a new home, but rates are too high? When the rates do come down, will you be ready? Where does the rate need to be for you to buy your next home? Let us help get you ready by maximizing your credit score and increasing your buying power. Take AIM, 720-895-0500. Your locally owned and operated mortgage lender in Colorado for over 23 years. 720-895-0500. That's 720-895-0500. 740 FICO, 80% loan to value, $400,000 FHA loan. 6.507 APR, NMLS 217147. Regulated by DORA, equal credit lender, and rates are subject to change.
It's summertime and the temperatures are warming up, but let me tell you about the super hot deals happening right now at the Outdoorsman's Attic. Hey, this is Scott Watley, and if you're looking for huge savings on hunting, fishing, and camping gear, go to 2650 West Hampden and visit our friends at the Outdoorsman's Attic. You'll also find great selection of guns and ammo as well as gunsmithing services. If you have some hunting and fishing and camping gear and you're just not using it anymore, turn it into cash at the Outdoorsman's Attic. Once again, 2650 West Hampden in Sheridan. It's Colorado's greatest outdoor consignment store. And tell them Scott sent you.
It's summertime here in Colorado, which means you should get to enjoy some rays, go for a swim, or have a picnic. But with summer comes hail season, and that means no roof is safe from its potential destruction. Hi, this is Madison Hart.
And I'm Elizabeth Hart.
At Roof Savers Colorado, we strive to provide a high-quality roofing experience for every customer.
From plant-based rejuvenation treatments that give new life to dry, old, or minorly damaged shingles to full roofing replacements, we want to provide the best service for you and your home. Hail season brings a lot of roofing companies knocking at your door, but many fail to provide honest inspections, quality service, and customer care.
We here at Roof Savers don't want this to be your experience. With over 23 years spent in the roofing business, we're ready to help you rejuvenate or replace your old or damaged roof. Not sure the state your roof's in? Give us a call before filing your insurance claim to set up a free inspection.
Call us today at 303-710-6916 or go to roofsaversco.com. That's 303-710-6916 or go to roofsaversco.com to set up your free inspection and get back to enjoying your summer.
560 KLZ, your home station.
Welcome back to Water Talk. My name is Scott Watley, along with Paul Dowding, the owner of Water Pros. Once again, his number is 303-862-5554. And Paul, I was thinking last week when you walked out, you called me just a short time after you left the studio, and a couple of folks called you as listeners. And, I tell you, of course, I listen to KLZ a lot, but then I'll scan other stations, listen to other shows, just try to hear some different things, learn some different things. But, man, I just don't hear anything like this where a company comes on. Well, first of all, it's very hard for any company to get on radio, just except for doing ads, But to come on and be able to really explain things and kind of educate kind of what you do and how you can help people, it's rare to get that opportunity. But I think that's what most of our listeners really like about Water Talk.
No, I think I'm blessed to be able to do this.
That's the point I wanted you to feel.
Yeah, thank you.
I wanted you to know you were blessed to be able to.
Yeah, I knew that. Thanks, Charlie. Nobody behind the screens there, too. Listen, we have to understand something. Water is life.
Yeah.
Right? Every aspect of our life involves water. You can't escape it. Food preparation, water. Food growth, water. Human existence, water. Mm-hmm. Even and so it's something, even manufacturing that, water. So it's just every aspect of life. Another contaminant, Scott, I want to get at, it's very important, is trihalomethanes. And trihalomethanes are something that the World Health Organization was screaming about back in the 90s, handing out pamphlets when they realized that it's something that's absorbed through our skin. It's inhaled, and it causes, liver and kidney and central nervous system problems, increased risk of cancer. Every one of these contaminants that we're going to talk about is increased risk of cancer. And so, cancer can be genetic, but also, if you've got a genetic factor, of cancer that can, be in water helps it or boosts it along, that's another factor. And so I think, we need to, just be aware and take, water. I mean, that's everything, I mentioned last week when you and I leave and we go outside, we take that breath of air and we take for granted that it's not going to be harmful.
Sure.
And I think it's that same people take for granted that the glass of water is not going to be harmful. But clearly, it's important that people realize that the point of use reverse osmosis for the drinking water system is absolutely, the first step. And understand that based upon how hard the water is, you definitely want to consider adding a water softener, because reverse osmosis units are not designed to deal with hard water. Mm-hmm. So the total chlorine content, a lot of the membranes, the reverse osmosis membrane is the main filter on the drinking water filter system that we're talking about. Total chlorine content can affect that operation and can also, deteriorate a reverse osmosis membrane along with hard water. There's operating parameters for drinking water filter systems. Water treatment isn't plug and play. We just went to a house in Highlands Ranch this morning to help out a contractor who was remodeling a kitchen. They hired a plumber, a customer had an existing RO, and, they didn't know how to plumb it in. And so, we were able to, to help them out. I mean, that's exactly what we're here for. And that's what we want to do. But education, people have to understand, when you go and you buy an iPhone, or between the iPhone and Android, it's because it's the operating system and it's how easy. I remember looking at an Android when I had an Apple, and it just
Greek.
Right, exactly. So you stuck with the Apple. You know, it's like when you're buying it, you know, your television system. You want to see, you know, smart. Everybody goes, you know, wants a smart television now. Samsung, you know, has their own channel lineup.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we for a brief time, we went away from Comcast cable, and you know, Samsung had, you know, their own channel lineup. And then you have the Roku box, and then you have Apple TV, and so then, in addition to those apps, you have Paramount Plus. I mean, you think about it, you don't need a cable box to have, you know, all these subscriptions that you're paying for. And, you know, and some of them, you know, you pay enough, you don't have to even deal with commercials.
Yeah. When you go in people's homes, and, you know, you do the water test, and that is such a simple test that you do, but it quickly shows the customer what's going on with their water. I mean, they got to be amazed that in 5 or 10 minutes you can show them that.
See, the water test strips we use, it's instantaneous results. Years ago, and some people still do the chemical testing, but you know, I think I want to get away from chemicals. I want to get away from, because you know, when you're done with the chemical test, what do? You dump the chemical down the sink. So, you know, I think, you know, it's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm sitting here saying we need to stop, you know, dumping, you know, and you know, chemical contamination down the sink to help preserve, you know, the quality of water that we have. So that's why I've gone to, you know, test strips.
And you look at everything, Paul, in our life. Now that we've gotten into this, and, you know, I'll do a lot of prep during the week for this show, and, man, is there anything just really pure in our world?
I don't,
you know?
I don't think so.
mean,
That's a great...
From food, water,
yeah,
whatever.
I don't think so. I think... You know, I hate to say it, but I think the world we live in today, there's 100% contamination. You know, if you think about this, you know, the outside world, what's contaminating in the outside world today is what's in our bodies. Mm-hmm. Nanoplastics. We've done enough. You know, last week was, you know, first thing I kicked off the show talking about, you know, and you know, in the male anatomy, you know, the reproductive organs, you know, that they have, you know, microplastics, yeah. And same with female reproductive organs, and then in the arteries, and penetrated the lung tissue and brain tissue. I mean, it's all over. And so, you know, it's kind of funny. And then the other, you know, not funny. I don't know if it's ironic, but it's sobering if you think about everything that's out there contaminating the world today is contaminating us. Mm-hmm. You know, another contaminant that's in our water supply is the chloramines. That's the chlorine mixed with ammonia. That's very used as a disinfectant, and that's something that can cause eye and nose irritation, stomach discomfort, anemia, and it's a water additive used to control, you know, microbes, which is bacteria and viruses. But again, you know, the World Health Organization was absolutely screaming about trihalomethanes, and trihalomethanes are a byproduct of chlorination, and the same is with chloramines. But we use chloramines here, so the chlorine levels stay constant and don't off-gas like straight chlorine does. So that's why when you do a chlorine test out of the hot water heater, you see you have high chlorine. Here's something you can do. How many folks out there that listen to our show, if you have your own hot tub, you have a chlorine test kit? If you have a swimming pool, you know, for the kids this summer, you know, you probably have a chlorine test kit. Do the test yourself. Go to the hot water, turn it on, let it run real nice and hot, then do the test. See for yourself what the levels are. Right. And then think, when that steam, nice hot steam shower, that's something exactly that you're breathing in.
Man. 303-862-5554 is the number. As we mentioned, Paul will come out and do the free in-home water test, and it is very simple to do. And Paul, real quick before our break, you know, you mentioned the RO, but then again, the water softener is a piece to that puzzle, because you've been to homes where people had an RO system, but it wasn't done properly because they didn't have the water softener.
Water softeners are the first line of defense, in my opinion, because it eliminates the use of harsh soaps and abrasives, and detergents that end up contaminating our drinking water. And a couple weeks ago, we released one that is not yet regulated by the EPA, and it's called 1,4-dioxin. And so that's something that is, a product that comes out as in shampoo. And shampoo, everybody uses shampoo. And so, when in the very beginning, they were not looking at this, at the long term. They were not looking at the long-term effects. They weren't looking back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, what would happen with the drinking water supply 30 years from now. Nobody was thinking that far down. No one was taking in consideration, population, and then the increased use of these chemicals, and then no one took in consideration other countries throughout the world, and that these chemical contaminations would be carried by rainwater. Nobody talked about that. When they tried to bring it to our attention in the 80s, and they called it acid rain, we all laughed. But that's absolutely, that's the first time I remember hearing it as a kid in high school, acid rain. And did I take it seriously? No. Did you take it seriously? No one did. No. And that's back when bottled water was introduced as a fad.
Wow. And it is a bazillion, that's a Texas word, bazillion dollar industry, isn't it?
And majority of it will have, nanoplastic contamination.
Yeah.
Just because of the manufacturing practices. We talked to, there's tons, if you have, people in the listening audience, if you have an old whole house reverse osmosis system without pre-treatment, you could have a microplastic contamination issue, because reverse osmosis membranes are not designed to deal in hard water. And so there's companies out there, Scott, that took a 2-membrane system or a 3-membrane system, and the first one or the first two could be sacrificial to get rid of the hardness and iron content, and the third membrane's there to do its job. Well, these first 2 membranes are getting destroyed. And all the contaminants that are breaking down are getting to nanoparticles that will pass through the third membrane. So you can have membrane fibers. And that's how plastic is becoming a contamination that is a global concern, because it breaks down so small in such a tiny particle. It doesn't dissolve, it doesn't disappear. It breaks down to such a tiny particle that plastics have penetrated every aspect of the human body, from the brain tissue to lungs to blood to reproductive organs. And heaven help us when the first